What the purpose of death is for us to realize that one day we are going to meet our Creator.
Is that a fact?
Well, my brother, there has to be a purpose.
Why doesn't he come now?
Because my brother, that's what he doesn't want. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that.
Psychological.
You know, God is going to give you, my brother, 80 years. He might even give you 100 years. But it's up to you for you to say, you know what, let me do it. It's up to God, my brother. God knows your heart. He knows you're not ready yet. So you're still going to live. No, God is not bad. But alhamdulillah, my brother, one day we will die, guys. And we have to always be ready for death. Because death is something that we want to avoid. Exactly, don't tell. That's God.
Live life.
Yeah, but my brother, living life in this world, we are only going to be destroying ourselves because we're going to be thinking of money, clothes, money, food, cars, houses.
1,500
We're not going to be happy. If anything, we're going to be oppressed.
1,500 years BC, King Hammurabi started writing what I think was the origins of the Old Testament. Hammurabi.
That's what God wants.
That's where the word rabbi comes from. In Babylon, right?
I converted to Judaism. I've got many friends that have converted to Judaism. All different walks of life.
Now, I would guess that roughly that time, and we're talking about a very slow evolution of human societies over thousands of years.
About 2 months ago.
Even today, we go to parts of Sudan where the Dinka live as they have done for thousands of years.
Jewish and
rural parts of Brazil, there are people who still live as they have lived for thousands and thousands of years.
But certainly Islam, we worship that, we believe La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God.
Instead of running around hunting and gathering
one God in Judaism.
Animals, decided to create a border, decided to create a line, and they came to the conclusion that instead of actually going out with a spear and hunting animals and setting ambushes and traps, they realised that by putting a boundary around a certain area and managing these animals, sheep, cattle, horses, donkeys, cows, etc., and growing food and managing it, they wouldn't have to struggle so much in terms of hunting and gathering. And then, again, within a short space of time,
whatever you are, if you do good
wealth,
you go to what's called
in a short space of time, excess wealth was created, surplus was created. Because of very small basic improvements in agriculture, people were able to store milk, store mutton, store flesh, salt meat and keep it a bit longer, store fruit and vegetables, and this wealth was the basis of what is essentially the beginnings of a capitalist world, which can be traced back to ancient Babylon, which can be traced back to thousands of years, in which, of course, a small number of people had access to that wealth. They would be the kings, the kagans, the emperors, the priests, the rabbis, the imams of the day in 1500 year BC. Now, we know there was no Quran, and the early part of the Old Testament was not, I think, even put together till it got to Byblos on the west coast of Lebanon. I personally think that the Bible was put together at a place called Byblos because the name hints at it. I do read this stuff, I don't just make this thing out of thin air. And so you had a group of people who...
It's very hard for us to accept Jesus as a prophet because of the
yeah, I mean, I don't know much about it, but I'm trying to summarise the human evolution of belief. Right? Then, with this extra wealth, it afforded for a small number of people a relative life of leisure. These would be the kings and queens and rulers of Babylon. This would have been the same for the Persians, would have been the same for the Egyptians, the Indians in India, and the kings of North Africa in Nubia, etc. And they were able, with that position in which they did not have to hunt and gather, they did not have to what we could call work, they didn't have to go out for their food and clothes, they created these kingdoms, these civilizations, these empires, and they began the investigation into why we are here.
From them, most Jews believe
I'm serious. It's serious. They began the investigation of why we are here. And all Judaism, Christianity and Islam are nothing more than writing stuff in a book and claiming it's the truth.
Place called Cologne in Cork. Yeah.
Writing something in a book doesn't mean it's true.
So, because Jesus played no part in Jewish
these religions certainly became business.
I mean, the Jews that don't even believe
according
Jesus
to Riley
existed,
Taylor,
the
original religion was the worship of sex. Was the worship of sex, and much of the statues and history and writings of the people who worship all over the world the sex of man and the sex of woman was obliterated by Judaism, Christianity, and then Islam. Because exactly. Yeah, and you even say at a marriage ceremony, I will honour and worship you for my life.
What about the satanic cult? What about the satanic cult? You're talking about Christianity. What about the satanic cult? Because you're talking about
paganism, yeah. That was the original organised religion in terms of worshipping the sun, the moon, stars. Why do you think the Lamb of God is the Lamb of God? It means Dalai Lama, and the word lamb was chosen because lambs are the cutest, loveliest animals. Who can not look at a lamb and go, oh, yeah. If you're going to create a religion, I'm talking about a sophisticated, psychological, human beings need a creator.
Exactly. We need a creator. Who created the cars? Who created the cars?
I'm saying it's problematic.